All right, Grixis Dragons. I don't know. So, Grixis Dragons, an archetype we played a few times in this format. It's been a little bit, though. My generic comment about this deck, this build of this deck, is that this build is trying to be more controlling. There's only 6 dragon threats, and then Angrath is ways to end the game, and this is kind of a way to end the game. So I'd expect this deck to be really good against something, for instance, like Esper Control, but I think this deck's probably going to struggle pretty hard against the various aggressive decks in the format. We don't have a ton of efficient, cheap removal. We only have 2 copies of Ritual of Soot that we're leaning on. In my previous experience, my preferred iterations of Grixis Dragons in this format tend to lean on Skragan Hellkite, just because it's a card that can allow you to assume a controlling role, but it's also aggressive on occasion. But we're going to go ahead and dive on into some matches here and see how this feels as submitted. You said sideboarding is 1 for 1. So if you go into sideboarding with 60 cards, you have to come out with 60 cards. Or you could come out of sideboarding with all 75 cards in play. So you are technically allowed to sideboard in extra cards and not cut things. However, it is inoptimal to do so. There is always a configuration of 60 cards that is more ideal, because regardless of how much you like all of the cards that you might have, there are definitely cards that are more important to be drawing in a matchup than others, and by putting more than 60 cards into your deck, you're giving yourself a less likely chance to be able to hit the cards that really matter. So, Turkey, you are incorrectly assessing what the mana math on Frank Karsten is saying. So first, the biggest thing people fail to understand or contribute when they're talking about mana math is that the best way to cast your spells consistently is to just play more lands. So there's a swamp in this deck, I'm pretty sure, but there's also 26 lands in it. Yeah, there aren't non-Izzet lands in this deck, Turkey. So I'm really confused by your comment for a variety of reasons. First is that I think this build could play non-Izzet lands if it wanted to, but second, it's not actually playing non-Izzet lands, so I'm just confused by what you said. But in general, figuring out, do you have the colors to play something, it isn't as simple as just saying you can't play Niv-Mizzet with Swamp. Because that's boiling it down to too simplistically, basically. I'm going to be greedy and bid a lands here, I think. That might be wrong. Niv doesn't need to be cast on curve. Niv also gets cast by Sarkhan Fireblood. It isn't as simple as saying you can't put Swamp in your deck with Niv-Mizzet, so much as there's a minimum number of blue and red sources that need to be in your deck to cast Niv-Mizzet.
I fear no pain.
That's really what you want to be asking yourself. It's not that you can't play Niv with these cards, it's that you need a minimum requirement to cast Niv. What's going on, Stormbreath Dragon? Happy Tuesday. Sarkhan's unsealing. Yep. So, again, this is a great example of why Grixis really struggles in this format. Must-answer enchantments are kind of everywhere, and Sarkhan's unsealing's actually not that good of a card in a lot of situations, except against decks like this that don't have flexible answers. And this deck not only lacks flexible answers, but it lacks a reasonable proactive plan to be able to close the game out when its answers don't line up accordingly. Well, yeah, and I'm telling you, Turkey, that the black sources are irrelevant to Niv. It's not that you need to count the black sources, it's that you need to count the blue and red sources. That's what's relevant. I'm going to kill the elf to hopefully slow their ramp into any big things from this. Those weren't 4-power creatures, thankfully. If they never draw a payoff for this, we could be okay.
I need
Yikes. Alright, well, please never draw a relevant spell. Please never draw a relevant creature.
No steel. Madness. What madness?
I feel like they were really still in that game, but I'll take a concession, I guess. Yeah, the problem with yoinking Brontodon with Angrath is it requires 6 mana, and then the Brontodon was going to get to pressure my Sarkhan, which isn't ideal. Yeah, I agree. If they had any 7-power creatures in their deck, I think that concession was a little bit early on their part. Easy mulligan here. This hand's not amazing, but it's fine. Gonna bottom a non-red source here. You know, I'm just gonna keep these because I guarantee Niv. You'll notice I shocked in the Steam vents rather than play the island. And the reason why I sequenced my lands that way, even though they dealt me damage, was so that way if I discoveried into red source plus Sarkhan, I'd be able to play Sarkhan on turn 3. Well, good afternoon, Dude Light. Howdy, howdy, howdy to you. The dude gives the gift of gab. Welcome to Hoaglandia, folks. How do you do that so rapidly? Twitch gives you the option to gift subs at random for X number of subs. I really need to figure out a sub-gift leaderboard. I'm gonna send a message about that to someone. Need to get that set up. The Kid Joey with the Twitch Prime support. Thank you very much and welcome. I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me around. Landon converted from a Twitch Prime to a Tier 1. Well, welcome, welcome. Thanks for the continued support, regardless of how it is. Alright, my opponent's Dino deck appears to be struggling. Nunanari D, thanks for the Bezo bucks. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome.
Monster, no fire,
no steel. What is in their hand? It must just be a bunch of fatties, huh? All right, there's I've been watching Jeff on YouTube since November of 2017, and boy, have things changed. Hoaglandia has gone through some changes since then. Welcome back, and thanks for keeping me around, Full On Tilt. Lava Coil in the main deck, huh? I think I gotta ditch that looking for a land here, right? Time flies when you live by means. I'm looking right now for an old tin can for chocolates painted like a London double-decker on the words party bus. Little did I know what that will be to me in a few years. Alright, that's a 3-drop. So, ideally, we're going to get their hand to a point where it's just Lava Coil. And then Nick will be able to take that Lava Coil away from them. Or Angrath can empty their hand out of it. With Angrath plus Nick's powers combined, we could be okay here. That's also good. I'm going to go ahead and cast this Discovery. It's pretty important that I hit my 4th land this turn. Perfect. So we'll draw Sulfur Falls since it doesn't deal damage to us. Go ahead and burn this cast down. Let's get that right on out of there. I think I'm just giving them the cards. I don't have any way to gain life in my deck, and I have a bunch of cards that draw cards in my hand. I don't know. It's all kind of a crapshoot from here.
You're just your crew for my freedom.
It is Court of Calling and my Birds of Paradise, and I've got one Resto and one Kiki in here.
I'll have you in chains next time.
I'll have you in chains next time. It's a little dark there, Angrath. I don't know that we needed to see that deeply into your kinks.
Ever seen water burn? You will.
Dude Light, I saw the list in your DM, and we can make something like that happen. It'll be up tomorrow. Thanks for all the gifties. I appreciate it.
Tougher storms than you.
Hey, Giddo, good afternoon. Hope you're having a good one. Thanks for the gifties. So, earlier, we talked about whether or not you bring in this card here. And I think this deck's a good example of a deck that just, like, doesn't really have a lot of respect for this matchup. So I kind of have to board in Duress just because the rest of my deck's just kind of super clunky. And I don't really have better options. I just have to, like, board these in and kind of hope for the best, I think. Someone else said that they don't think this deck has a lot of... Harold, thanks for the 213 sub. They said this deck doesn't feel like it has a lot of respect for aggro. I agree with that. Not a lot of respect for aggro on this list. Now, you don't care for set speculation, but you're excited to see more voice lines for Angrath. I am super excited. I think they've done the sound design in Arena in general, I think, is just A+ excellent. And I'm super excited to see a bunch of different Planeswalker lines in the next set. Vanafear will do, will do. I think it's critical that we kill the Gitu Lava Runner on 1 here rather than poke around with Discovery Dispersal. Taking their Wizard out of play is important. It also cuts it off of being able to deal damage right away. I think this deck not having any Moment of Cravings in it is a big kind of like, hey, I have no respect for aggro sign. I think I have to keep the Steam Vents, even though it doesn't seem particularly good with my hand at the moment. I just need to hit land drops, right? I mean, I don't even think this is Grixis things so much as just like it's just greedy deck building things. Like, if you just look at this deck list and like the cards it's playing, like there's a reason Esper Control plays a bunch of copies of Moment of Craving, right? Like, Esper Control has respect for these red aggressive decks that run you out of the game if you're not prepared for them. And this list just does not feel like it has the cards included to allow it to be successful in these matchups. The fact that Sarkhan just gained us 4 there is actually incredibly good for us, though.
Summon you.
All right, if we don't die here, we're probably gonna win the game. If we don't die here, we probably win the game. Unfortunately, lightning strikes kill us, though. Skewer kills us. Don't tell me how to live my life, Magic Arena. Man, that's a result of, like, looking at this deck list. If you told me we were going to die in 2 not particularly close games to Mono Red, I'd believe you. What's the next event I am going to be at? I am definitely going to be at the June Nerd Rage Gaming Tournament. It's actually at a water park hotel, which is sweet, so that's a modern tournament. Thank you for the Biddy's Web win. I am probably going to be at the Iowa Nerd Rage event in May. And I haven't run this one past the boss yet, but I might go to SCG Cleveland. I'm not sure yet, though. I might go to SCG Cleveland. I'm going to keep this on the draw, because if we hit a 3rd land at Sarkhan, that casts Sarkhan, we can cycle through the rest of these. Jeff's going to Iowa. I really want to play the Banafear Modern deck at a Modern tournament before like the May Nerd Rage event. Are they about to counter my cantrip? That is incredibly rude. This is actually a preview of one of the hit tracks from my upcoming album, 26 Lands Later.
I fight with a dragon's rage. What madness! They are coming.
We already made bribery out of budget. That's great.
Bolas told me I should do this.
I really feel like I should take a day and figure out what the best Sarkhan Firebrand deck is. A lot of these shells, like especially these Grixis ones, feel a little bit middling, but this card consistently just feels very good in every shell we put it in. Just like oh, I could have played Sarkhan into Nick there, huh? Yeah, that was a mistake. I could have played Sarkhan plus Sarkhan played Nick. I didn't stop and count. I was talking about how good this card is, then I messed him up.
This isn't a fight you can win. I'm much more malleable than people think.
Time is much more malleable than people think. I think I just do this, then we stick the old Angrath here.
It's only a matter of time. You're no fire, no steel.
It seems like Sarkhan and Domri would play well together to a degree. So the problem with Domri is that in order to leverage Domri's down tick, you have to basically have only Domri in your deck. The thing that actually works incredibly well with Sarkhan is Karn, because Karn his +1 tends to give you low quality cards, and then Sarkhan's plus turns those low quality cards into something better.
No steel. No fire. No
They tucked my Eldest Reborn, and then they Moment of Craving plus Cry of the Carnarium. My what's it called? I feel like the sub-only chat makes the sub-gifties have better appreciation too, which is fun. Gives it a little more sense of community building. game. This game's pretty over, right? Like,
I can no longer.
we've got Eldest Reborn, we've got Niv, we've got 2 Planeswalkers. Kind of like a build our own adventure book from here. What's his name? Angrath is ticking up towards Ultimate here. This puts them to 14 and there's 13 cards in their bin.
Don't doubt my methods.
Don't doubt my methods. I am very angry. I do think this deck... So, you know, we talk about what, you know, respecting or, like, metagame choices. We talked about this deck being not having respect for red aggro. This deck likely dumpsters these control decks. We have a ton of great tools for being competitive here. In fact, as I'm talking about dumpstering the control decks, like, I look at this deck and I look at how I've sideboarded here. I kind of have too many cards for control, right? And, like, this is one of the things you kind of want to think about when you're building your decks. One of the best ways to build sideboards is to think through the different matchups you expect to be playing and think about how you intend to sideboard in them here. So, like, with this deck as constructed, I look at this and I go, I have 65 cards that feel like they could be good against control. So now, like, I'm cutting cards that are good against control in the control matchup because I just need to trim down to 60 so I find my best cards most often. Whereas against aggro, I felt like I didn't have enough. So I definitely feel like the balance is off as far as like these Ionizes could probably be Moment of Cravings. I'm gonna trim a couple cantrips here just because, I guess. Yeah, something like Moment of Craving help aggro. Honestly, like I said, I'm a little bit bigger fan of being more proactive with the Dragons deck, so Scrag and Hellkite's a card I'm a big fan of. If you look on my website, there's my preferred iteration of Grixis Dragons under the standard decks there. Just register 65. Is it reasonable to assume he actually financed us? The crowns and the big gifters definitely accelerated our down payment. We definitely moved sooner than planning. Sooner than we originally planned. Christy and I had originally planned to move over the summer, and we were able to move our timeline up a little bit, which was nice, because we found a house that we liked. Because my oldest is 5 now, so he starts kindergarten in the fall, so we wanted to be in a different school district before that happened. So this hand has 4 lands in it, but it doesn't have double black. If they have a fast Thief of Sanity, this hand is really bad. The flip side is they're a Thought Erasure deck, which makes me more incentivized to keep, because if you mulligan looking for better spells against the Thought Erasure deck, they're just going to punch you in the face and take your spells away anyways, so I think I'm going to keep it because they're a Thought Erasure deck. Would that make you play MTGO more when they do that? Nah, probably not. For people who are fans, I did have a couple people in the sub-survey asking about potentially more Modern on occasion. I am going to squeeze in more Modern when time permits, when there's like lulls on when my viewer count would be medium with Arena anyway. So next week, when the Mythic Invitational is going on Thursday and Friday, rather than taking those days off completely, I'm just going to do multiple Moto Leagues on those days. So Thursday, Friday next week, if you're a fan of Modern, Legacy, and MTGO in general, I'm going to be doing a little bit extra content for that format on those days. I also plan to do a couple of MTGO only days right before the new set releases. Opponent mulligan, for people that blinked and missed it, opponent mulligan to 4 there and conceded the second game. Fan of MTGO. Some people are fans of Modern. Like, I'm thinking about going to the Modern Open next month because I do really like this Vanaphir Cord deck. It's a lot of fun. It's really mediocre against aggressive decks, Danon. We got dumpstered by Mono Red in a not close manner, and this deck doesn't really have cards to be competitive there. And the sideboard has a few too many things for the control matchup. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That doesn't really change anything, though. Modern is absurdly expensive. I realized Magic players are all crazy when I was reading a forum and someone had literally said that the Izzet Phoenix deck was only popular because it was a good budget choice. For the standard players out there who have never played Modern before, the Izzet Phoenix deck currently costs like $1,500 to build. $1,500, and people were like, it's just popular because it's a good budget choice. I was like, oh, budget's all relative, chat. Budget is all relative. In my experience, anything that meets or exceeds a mortgage payment is not budget, but maybe that's just me. That was a vintage player talking. Did I open chat back up? No, chat is permanently in sub-only mode for the foreseeable future. Unless I lose a significant number of subscribers in the next couple of months, the chat's staying in sub-only mode. I figure as long as we stay above like 2K sub points, the sub-only mode's here to stay. It definitely hurts my growth factor a little bit, but gosh, if I'm not happier having it on sub-only mode. The interactions are more pleasant in general this way. The content feels like it's better. It's more clean, less frustrating. This is a Thief of Sanity matchup. I think this might be a Thief of Sanity matchup. And again, this is another place where, like, if I had Moment of Cravings or more cheap interaction, this is a place I'd be interested in bringing them in. I think this is a Thief matchup. Contempt's kind of clunky. Let me ask you a question about having kids. How old was Declan before you were able to devote any time to streaming at all? Our baby just turned 1 month old, and I can't find any time to play Arena at all. Well, okay, so I've got some news that's gonna sound kind of scary to you, Jerry. The kids actually take more time as they get older. I actually had more time to play when they were super little, because when kids are super little, they're kind of just blobs that you have to make sure, like, have a clean diaper and eat and are fed. Once they can move of their own volition, like, all bets are off. Once they can move of their own volition, it's like the 6 months until like 3.5, where like until you can like walk out of the room and trust that they're not gonna try and injure themselves, it's just like you have to be on top of them. Stupid sexy Jace. I think I want Steam Vents. I don't think I want this. I think I just want to try and curve out. From like once they learn to crawl until like 3.5, 4, somewhere in there, children are basically these tiny machines that are just like trying to hurt themselves at all possible times because they just want to explore. And your job as a parent is to make sure they stay alive. You're just like, no, don't touch that. No, stop it. Stop it. So I think they're likely to counterspell whatever I play this turn. So I think I'm gonna play Thief of Sanity here. I still can't be trusted to not hurt myself. The stove is hot. Even when you are an adult, the stove is still hot. I cut myself with a potato peeler this morning and I'm 30. Alright, what am I doing? I think I'm just jamming another Thief here. I think regardless of what I play, it's not likely to resolve. Had Jaya Ballard because she's old and wise. Yep. Have a good one, Clown Punch. Catch you tomorrow. Raising a child is, yeah, it's basically what it is.
Let's think this.
How much does it cost for another Hoogle baby? Kids are like well into the 5 figures. They are super expensive. Honestly, sub to this kind of commentary, the stove is still hot as gold. Listen, we have nothing but the hardest hitting of truths here in Hooglandia. I think I want to bin that digging for a land. It's really unfortunate that I didn't hit the land to play Nicol Bolas while they were tapped out there. This thing makes like 2/2s, right? Makes 2/2s. And then it eventually copies himself. Parenting is not about keeping kids happy, it's about keeping them alive. Yeah, truer words. I have been fast and loose with my deck requests lately due to most of my donations being sub-gift. In the future, as I and others continue to donate subs, is there a more standardized way you would like deck requests from sub-gifts? Well, you can still, if you'd like, you can still put them through the form on my website. And then just like, let me know, hey, this is for X1 that I put through the form on your website. So if you have something in advance you know you'd like to see, feel free to put it through on there. Or after you gift a bunch, if you want to send it through there, so that way it's logged. Yeah, the website's definitely best. Then it kind of helps me stay organized. That way I can have all the links in one place at the end of the day. I've got your one from earlier though, so I've got that one written down. I'd like my lurking timeout, please, the elk. Thank you for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. So, I would just like to pull this list up one more time here. And now I would like to do a quick comparison to the list that's on my website here. So a little self-shill here for a moment. If you haven't been to jeffhoagland.com before, you're really missing out. Hey, look, there's me streaming. Look, it's stream. It's streamception. It's streamception. All right, anywho, so we go to here. We go to the Grixis Dragons list here. And if you look, there's a couple of key differences between what this list is doing and what the list that we just played is doing. First is that you'll notice that this build has extra ramp in it. We've got Dragon Horde and Treasures map here. We also have additional threats. In addition to the Nyx and the Nivs, we've got a bunch of Skragan Hellkites as well as Verdict's Bladewing as more things to apply pressure with. And then notably in the sideboard, you'll notice we have a little bit of extra respect for aggro with our copies of Moment of Craving. Spicy Dad, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. So I really think that 1, you both need more removal for the aggressive decks to play Grixis Dragons, and 2, you want more pressure, notably the Skragan Hellkite here, so that way you can pressure people out of the game, even when apparently my mouse over previews are slow. You can pressure people out of the game when your answers aren't lining up efficiently. I only subbed to share this. It's been on my mind since this morning. Died doing what he loved. That's great, Spicy Dad. You captured the bus crash in a clip. It's so beautiful. All right, Mardu mid-range. We might